Hi, my name is Cathy Sabater. I'm a mortgage planner and proud veteran. I'm here with two great individuals who want to just have a quick conversation on life insurance, home insurance, and things like that. Jose,
Hey,
how are
Kathy,
you?
how are you? Hey, doing great. Thanks for having us today. Any questions you have on your home insurance, we're here at your service at TOR Insurance Services. So thank you for having us.
You got it. And Neil is here to answer some questions in regards to life insurance. So here we are in the middle of the pandemic, and some of the things that are coming up is like, hey, life insurance, do I really have adequate life insurance? And Neil, you had mentioned that, hey, things have changed. It's not just a death benefit, it's evolved. Can you explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah, very much so. And it's interesting that what you had mentioned, the whole conversation around life insurance, it's always been an uncomfortable topic for many people, right? Just because it causes them to think about their own mortality. But there have been pretty significant events in recent history, right, that have really caused people to think about what it means if something happens to them. So obviously, right, we've been in the midst of the pandemic, and with the pandemic has really caused people to think about what if something happens. We originally thought the pandemic was something that was affecting older individuals, but we've now seen as we've progressed through the year that nobody's immune, right? There's no guarantee that you're going to survive it. So many families, many individuals are starting to plan for that. A couple of other things that have happened that have really thought about, what does it mean if something happens to me is, the death of Kobe Bryant, superstar at at top of his game, still had a lot of life left to live. And a lot of people are thinking, well, shoot, if something happens to Kobe with all of his resources, what should I do if something happens to my family and I don't have the resources? And so the idea that you asked about, life insurance, it used to be this idea, well, hey, I'm worth more dead than I'm alive. Well, why do I have to wait to pass away for my family to tap into that asset? So many carriers now have created new and more innovative solutions that allow you to tap into that death benefit while you're living. So most of that is oftentimes called living benefits. And so that has been a lifesaver for many, many families in the midst of the pandemic, because you could typically tap into those coverages in the event you have a prolonged illness and that you may not be able to, let's say, cover expenses that primarily, you think about, you get sick, your medical coverage covers your medical bills, but who pays for your mortgage? Who keeps the lights on? Who pays for the groceries? Your life, sometimes when you get sick, hurt, or injured, brings new expenses. So life insurance has now become a way for individuals to still provide that level of protection without having to die.
And so that's so interesting you say because it is called life insurance. But because we've been trained that it's more of when you die, you're really expounding on no, we want to use it while we're here, life, living life at its fullest. So I wanted to segue really quickly in regards to we've had a lot of equity growth, and there's things catastrophically going on in the world. And so, as far as property insurance is concerned, Jose, what are the things we should be looking at, or can we call you about when we're looking at our policy? Because I've been getting some phone calls in regards to, hey, I'm not sure if I have the right kind of coverage.
Well, Kathy, when you're talking about your property insurance, you typically want to look at what your dwelling value on your policy. So the dwelling value is the amount that the insurance company calculates it would cost to rebuild your home in the event of a total loss. So they assign a per square footage amount on your dwelling, and so every once in a while you want to take a look at that. Typically, a lot of the insurance companies out there will have a 125 or 150 replacement cost. So, for example, if you have a dwelling value, let's say $500,000 to rebuild the home, and you haven't checked it in, let's say, 10 years, but now the cost to rebuild of construction has gone up, 15, 20%. Well, is that $500,000 going to be adequate to rebuild the home? In most cases, 15, 20%, if you're within that 125 or 150 replacement cost, it shouldn't be a problem. And that's why the insurance companies do that. However, things can change. Maybe you have more personal belongings in your home, and you may want to take a look at the limits on that. And then also, during the pandemic, you don't want to be caught without insurance. And, there might be some ways where you can save a little bit of money on your premiums, and that can be looking at your deductibles, especially on a homeowners. If you have a high, typically you probably want to have a higher deductible because you won't be claiming anything under, let's say, $1,000 or $2,500. So if you have a deductible that's over $2,500, not only will you save on the premium, but it just makes more sense because and another thing with homeowners, it's one of those things where you have to have it regardless if you have a mortgage or not. It's one of the biggest investment. But I mean, you don't want to be caught. You don't want to be caught without insurance. That's for sure. So those are some of the things that you can look at your policy. And you can call us at any time so we can review it for you. But that's what I would recommend.
Yeah, because the interesting thing with the stimulus plan is people need to understand that if you're not paying your mortgage, you still have to pay your property insurance.
Absolutely.
Because you need to ensure that your property is taken care of. And I try to communicate that with a lot of people. So yes, you don't have to pay the principal and interest, but your property taxes and your property insurance. So you don't pay your property insurance, that's fine. They're going to manage that one way. But as you mentioned, you should be making that payment even if you can't make your payment for your mortgage. Am I correct?
That is correct, because, and then you have to remember, if you do have a mortgage, that they're going to be listed as the mortgagee, and if you fail to make your insurance payment, well, the insurance company is going to contact the mortgage company, and therefore they're going to force place insurance, and they don't shop your insurance. I'll tell you, they have a system that they just put the insurance on there, and it's usually 3 or 4 times more than what you would typically pay, which is going to be added on to once you start the mortgage payments again, it's going to be there. So you don't want to be caught in that situation. So, and hopefully everybody stays safe during this time. And like Neal was sharing with us that, if you do have life insurance in place, and it's something that people need to consider. You're purchasing a home. Typically, you're starting a family, or maybe you have a family, but you have to have these controls in place. It's like going out to dinner. You're not going to go out to dinner if you can't pay for the tip. You have to pay. You got to pay for the tip. Don't go out. If you can't pay for insurance, to protect you, because you're putting a lot of your money, your hard effort into this home, right? Where a lot of your money is going into, you got to protect that. And it's just one of those things that you got to be able to do. And I know a lot of us may think, oh man, I got to pay these premiums and I never use my insurance, and hopefully you never will. And so, but it's definitely something that you want to consider. You do have to make your payments, even though if you're not making a payment due to the pandemic.
That's right. So let me ask you quickly, Neal, you had mentioned about the difference in the strategy for life insurance itself, in that as you continue to buy or pay down your mortgage, then your insurance needs are different. Can you talk a little bit about that? And then we can just wrap this up. You can give us your phone numbers and make people happy again. So the education is cool.
Sure. Unfortunately, it's one of those things where if you think about it, why do people typically think about buying insurance, life insurance to begin with, right? As you so keenly had pointed out, you might as well call it death insurance, because you think about buying insurance the old way, you buy it in case when you die, because people used to buy it to protect those that they left behind. If you die too soon, are there financial considerations that I want to make sure that I'm not leaving behind as a burden to my families? Well, what happens, let's say, if you pay down your mortgage, a lot of times the big reason why you're buying life insurance, especially, with the real estate boom that's happening right now with low interest rates, people want to go out and make sure, hey, I'm buying property and I don't want to leave my family straddled with that property or that asset. Or, hey, maybe I want to make sure that they can keep that asset and not forced to sell it, right, if I pass away. And so for me, when we think about the value of the asset, right, the value of your asset, your most important asset, and your most valuable asset is not your house. It's not your 401k. It's not your investment portfolio. It's your ability to go and earn a living, to earn that income, to put financial resources in. So that's why we're buying life insurance in many ways, because as you're paying down your mortgage, right, the need, if you're just thinking about it from a debt perspective, well, my debt's decreasing because I'm decreasing the balance on my mortgage. Well, but my life insurance value stays the same. Well, now you can then utilize that asset for other purposes. So like I mentioned before, some of us at some point are going to have some sort of a medical malady, whether it's going to be a heart attack, stroke, cancer, unfortunately. And now today's modern policies, if you've not looked at your coverage, today's modern policies will allow you to trade out that death benefit, that large amount of death benefit that you may not need because you don't have a big mortgage balance. You can use that to provide coverage if you get cancer, heart attack, or stroke. Or let's say nothing bad happens. If you design the policy properly, right, there may be ability for certain types of insurance coverages to turn that into a tax-free stream of income. So the IRS actually allows you, this is under IRS statute, allows you to bring out proceeds from your life insurance policy when designed properly on a tax-free basis. So today's modern policies, costs are actually dropping. Life insurance carriers are getting more efficient at delivering the coverages. And so they're actually passing on those savings potentially to their policyholders. So it's worth taking a look. And it's not one of those, I'm going to date myself when I say this, the life insurance is not one of those like infomercial commercials where you set the rotisserie chicken and you set it and forget it. This is something that it bears worth looking into, because as major financial changes come in your life, it warrants looking into it. And nowadays, especially when people have been losing their jobs, unfortunately, there's 40 million individuals that had to file for unemployment last year. Many of those were looking at their employment as their primary source of family protection. Well, if you don't have that option anymore, there are cost-effective ways to still protect your family. So definitely don't miss out on that chance to do that.
Well, listen, Jose, Neal, it was a pleasure meeting you. Jose, what phone number can they reach you at?
We're at 855-867-0002.
Okay, and then they just press a button and they have different extensions for you?
So yeah, we got Claudia. She'll answer, and just talk to Claudia, let her know how we can help you, and she'll patch you into one of our team members that can help you out.
Well, great. We look forward to talking to you again next month. Hopefully we'll get some more questions from our audience. Everybody stay safe. It's great speaking with you.
Thank you for having us. All right, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.